everyone, I have been asked to colour this picture, and this is from Rita Berman's Meine Reise Durch Asien book, and I thought it would be quite a good one to split into smaller parts for our videos. So I'm going to start, I'm just having a little look at it. We've got a bit of bamboo each side of here with some shoes. Actually, I think what we'll do is we'll do the girls. We'll do those first. So let's come in nice and close to this little girl or lady. I'm not sure. I think they're little girls, but I don't know. And start with her. Now I've got my Faber Castell Polychromos, so I'm going to grab the number 132, which has undergone a name change. This is the beige red or light flesh, and I'm going to start with her face and just use this quite lightly, and we'll do those little cheeks in a slightly darker colour, I think. And I don't know if these girls are in a sort of traditional dress that might require a traditional colour or not. But I'm going to not worry about that and just use lots of pretty colours, hopefully, and do it that way. So, you know, I'm just trying to figure out these shoes. I think these are like that. So they're like sort of flip-flops. So they show a bit of foot. There we go. And now for the cheeks, I think quite a pretty pink. This one I rather like. This is number 130, which is salmon or dark flesh, but I think it's a nice pretty colour. There we go. I'm not sure if I do all the faces the same. I'm not really going to shade the face. I think keeping it quite plain sort of works. Now hair, I'm thinking black normally feels right, so I'm going to do that this time, but for some of the other girls I might do them different colour hair just because it makes it a little bit more interesting really than doing them all the same. This is black, and yeah, that's really the main reason. I mean, it might tie them together a bit more, I suppose, if all their hair and skin is the same. I'll have a think about that before next time. Now with the hair, what I like to do, I'm going to do this bit inside here dark on both sides, but I'm going to make this base a bit darker than the rest, not as dark as that bit, and then the bit at the top here where these lines are that Rita's drawn in, keep that one dark. I'm trying to work out what those two circles are there. Might be part of the flower. Maybe we leave that. So, oops. My plan is that this bit here is the darkest. And then we sort of fade it towards this lower bit so we get a shine line on the hair. Because particularly I have noticed that dark hair can actually look really, really shiny. Very pretty. My hair sometimes shines a little bit, the grey. Can look a tad silvery, but not a great deal. But my hair's so dry and frizzy, I've found some better shampoos and treatments lately, but it still doesn't, you know, shine like some hair does. So I'm just sort of trying to bring it to meet so that we get this sort of lighter bit. It's a bit messy at the minute. I'm going to really darken along here. In fact, I think if I sharpen my pencil it might help me. There we go. Let's get some real dark black here and then fade it up. I'm still smiling to myself. I was reading a news article yesterday, and it was a BBC, on the BBC website that I tend to get my news, and but it was a local story. You can put in where the area you live, and they can filter some of the local stories as well. and it was about a particular place that was being affected by some new parking restrictions, a cricket ground in fact. And I just don't want to leave a huge white mark, but just a little bit. And there are lots of cricket grounds in the town, which isn't really surprising. But there's one really big main one that is well known, and they used the photo of that one. But that wasn't the one that the story was about. I know about the story because my parents live really close to that cricket ground, and the parking restrictions are going to affect them as well. So it was just really funny. Well, it's going to affect us all actually. There, I'm going to leave that little white mark like that. If it looks a bit odd, I might fill it in later, but I think it's going to be fine. Now we've got the hair at the top here. They're sort of bun. Keeping with the black, I'm thinking if we do it really dark here by the ribbon, and then a bit lighter so we can sort of do a light bit in the middle, it'll be the opposite way to the stripe on the lower bit, but I hope it'll work. Yes, what it's going to mean, the parking restrictions, is that in their street there will be 4 parking spaces where people can park for 4 hours for free. And then apart from that, I think I'm going to do her clothes, and then I'll take the odd colour and do her things in her hair from that. I want it all to sort of match. This, I'm going to start from the bottom. I think it's a little bit easier. There's a lot of detailing here. So the clogs, now I'm not sure whether they are a traditional colour, but I'm just going to grab a dark blue. They're actually the dark indigo, and do them with that. Yes, so basically there will be 4 spots that you can only stay in 4 hours. Now when I visit my mum, we normally stay for longer than that. And then if a household wants one of the other bays on the road to be taken up by a visitor, they have to pay and put their number plate, registration plate into an app, and let them know, the authorities know, that they've paid for someone to park. So it's normally you just park for free on the road. This is bluish turquoise. I'm going to do this little bit of skirt down here. So it's a big change, and the counsellors, a lot of people have complained, and the counsellors are just saying, oh, people will just get used to it. But and they'll have to be fair, they'll have to get used to it if that's the rule. But it's upsetting a lot of people, because my mum often has a party where she might have, less nowadays so much, but she might have quite a group of visitors, at least 10 cars. And what happens is sometimes the neighbours let her visitors use their driveways, but there's usually plenty of parking on the road. What we do is, because we can walk well, we tend to park quite far down the road so that we can leave spaces nearer the house for the people that aren't, some of the party guests are usually less mobile, so we can do that. But now it means that she'll have to pay for each one of them to have a temporary day permit, and there is no way, there's no guarantee there'll be a space for them either. So she's a bit not really knowing, cobalt turquoise, knowing what to do about it really. So even when me and my sister go, we don't both fit on her driveway with my dad's car as well. But they think he might be able to move his car forward a bit. But it's a bit tricky, because they've got a gate halfway up their driveway, which when my sister visits and my niece brings her dog, the gate stops the dog from running into the road. And so the only way to fit more cars on the drive is to open the gate. And they're worried about the dog. So it's all very, very tricky. So it's been in the news a lot. And it was just quite funny that they used this completely incorrect photo, and made me chuckle. But we'll see what happens with the parking. I think they've already started marking the bays out in some parts of the town, and it's caused some confusion, because in one area where people would never park opposite each other because there wouldn't be room to pass, the bays are marked out so that you do park opposite each other, so it's forced, this is like cobalt turquoise, it's forced there to be only one-way traffic in that area, which before people were sensible and allowed two-way traffic. And then there's also a bay right on the corner of a road on a junction, so you can't actually see when you're pulling out because the vehicle is in the way. But as there's nowhere else for it to park, it parks there, you know, so it is quite ridiculous. But they're talking about bringing it in our area as well, not specifically in our street but in nearby streets. So we'll have to see what happens. But in our town, people protest a lot more. Now I'm thinking I'm going to go for a slight colour change. I'm thinking blue and pink might work nicely together, depending on the shades of pink. I'm thinking light magenta to start with might work nicely. I've just realised how very yellowy everything looks in my camera. What is that? When I put my hand in, maybe. Oh, it looks better now. Maybe it's just my eyes. I don't know. Anyway, light magenta. It looks fine now. I don't know. Yeah, my eyes are a bit dodgy. Maybe it's because I've been looking at the brown desk. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to try and fade it a little bit towards the centre, like I did with the skirt here. By just putting more layers on the edges and less in the middle. I think that helps to show her shape, because obviously she's going to be quite rounded. I mean, because people aren't flat. And so by making things a little darker on the edges, it hopefully makes the impression that she's sort of like that, rather than just a flat. But I mean, we can't make it look totally realistic because it isn't. Now, top and bottom of the little skirt, or layer of, I think if it's a top, I don't know what it is. I'm going to use this middle purple pink, and I'm going to use this, do the same thing, so a bit darker here, and then fade it down. Just getting my energy levels back today. I don't know whether it's my age or what, but walked into town with the children, had to buy a few things. Got to town, this is the second time this has happened, absolutely exhausted. And so we had a coffee and a snack, and then I still didn't feel that much better until we came home, had to sit down, had some lunch, and then and then my energy's now coming back. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the boys felt the same way. It was quite muggy. I mean, that's obviously, that sort of hot and sticky weather really doesn't help things, but it's a bit of a worry in a way. But anyway. So we've got a sort of top and a cape, or whether they're just big sleeves, I'm not sure. I'm thinking in here, maybe I'll continue with the pinks and then do a bit more purple out there, pinky, a bit more blue, I don't know. So I think I'd do just some stripes. Let me think. Yeah, I think, oops, I'll use this one, the light red violet, for one of the stripes. Let's just sharpen it a little bit, because we've got to get right in. So we've got this little bit here, and there, and then this little bit in here. I'm trying to fade it a little bit towards the middle, and then that bit, maybe that bit as well, like that. Now I'm also wondering if that bit is part of the clothes underneath, or if it's part of this. I think I'll do that bit as well, and then this can be like the collar or something. And I want a darker colour. We've got the red violet or the magenta. I think I'll go for the red violet. Let's give it a sharpen. There we go, red violet. The sun's gone in now. Not that it was massively sunny. It was just bright, and now it seems to be a bit dull. As we were walking back, the boys told me they thought it was going to rain, but it didn't, thankfully. Now I'm going to grab this cobalt green and do the sleeves. I've got a sort of patchwork pattern. I'm thinking maybe I'll just fill in a row with this all the way across, and then the lower one, that one, just trying to work it out. It's quite tricky sometimes when you're trying to do something like this, to make sure it's right. Have you seen Rita's previews of her new book, the Africa one? I've been having a look. Now, when this one came out, I said I'm not going to buy it. I didn't. And Rita gave me this. She sent it to me, which is so kind of her. And so I had a copy anyway. The Africa book, it's got elephants in, but so is this one. I haven't done the elephants yet, and it's because, you know, I love them, but it's like it makes you a bit nervous because you want to do it really well. So I really ought to just get on with it and be brave, but I haven't yet. There we go. So what I'm going to do for the other square is use a slightly darker blue. This is the Helio turquoise. I will probably repeat some of the colours as well. Like I'm thinking down here, this blue wasn't a turquoisey blue, so maybe we should use some that aren't as well, just to tie it together. And I've also got to think about what I'm doing with the hair accessories. As I said, I would want to sort of match them in. Okay, let's do this side. I was just checking I'd done it all, because I found it quite complex. So yeah, I don't know whether it's my age. I mean, I don't know if I'm unfit or if it's like menopausal or if it was just the weather. It's really hard to tell. Or maybe it was just dehydration. I should have had a drink. I did have a drink before I left though. Okay, I want a darker colour on that trim, and I'm going to grab the bluish turquoise. I don't want to really introduce any more colours. Oh, that's that colour, isn't it? That's good. We've got a fan to do as well, haven't we? Now, you could make the sleeves or whatever they are a little bit darker down at the bottom than the top. I haven't worried too much about it. I don't think it's completely necessary. Now here, I think I'm going to do the flower and the dots in pink and the background in blue. I think it'll be easier for me if I do the pink first. So I'm going to go back to my middle purple pink, and I'm going to do all the dots in this colour. I'm going to plain colour them, because I'm thinking this is sort of printed fabric, isn't it? So I think it wouldn't necessarily show any different shades. It might. Some fabric does, but we'll keep it nice and easy. And for this one I would also do the flower centre in here. And then the same on the other side. Okay. We didn't go along the canal path today either for our walk. Oh, we came back along the canal, didn't we? I'm trying to think. Gosh, I can't even remember. The light magenta for the rest of the flower and the petals. No, I can't remember. Wow, I was chatting to my boys. Had been reading the highway code this morning and some questions ready for their driving theory test, and we were talking about that. My one son suggested it'd be better to walk along the road on the way into town so that we could have a look at it, you know, and the different types of crossings, because he was talking about pelican, toucan, puffin and zebra crossings, and trying to work out what all the difference was. And actually it doesn't make a huge difference to car drivers. This is cobalt turquoise, really, some of them, but the highway code is for everybody, it's not just for car drivers. So. But the of course a zebra crossing has stripes on the road and flashing yellow bollards, and you stand by the curb and just wait for the cars to stop. And legally they have to stop if someone's waiting. But also legally you're not allowed to, as a pedestrian, loiter near the edge of a crossing, because it confuses the drivers because they stop and think you're going to cross. So that's a zebra crossing, and it's called it because of the stripes. Now the other types of crossing I have no idea. So let me get this right, a pelican crossing is one where you press a button and the green man, there's a red man which tells you not to walk, and then once the traffic is stopped by the traffic lights, a green man comes and tell you to walk, and when the green men and the red men are opposite you on the other side of the road and you look up to see them, that's a pelican crossing. And it also flashes, the green man flashes to tell you not to cross as the crossing comes towards the end of its time of allowing people to cross. I'm just realising we've got this stripe as well. I think that one and that one should be the same colour. So I'm just going to grab what I think it was. Was it this? I'm confused now. Was it the light red violet? No, I do think that's wrong. It's near enough. And I'm going to use this one, the cobalt turquoise, for the other bit of collar. And then the puffin crossing has the green man and red man near where you press the button, so at hand level, and it doesn't flash amber, or the amber is the car, it flashes the cars, it doesn't flash green to tell you not to start crossing or anything. I'm looking at the hair ribbons and flowers now, and I'm thinking we could reverse the flower so we can use the light magenta in the centre. And then the toucan crossing is one that is so wide that bicycles and people can all cross, and it's huge, lots of width. I think we'll use this dark one because we haven't used it much, the red violet. So I didn't know about that last type, and so that's interesting. There's also the type where they're staggered. I can't remember what they were called, but it was all so it was all learning, and some of the questions were quite funny. My other son was reading out some of the questions. He said, if you see an ambulance with its sirens on coming up behind you, what do you do? Now the answer is obviously to try to pull in at a safe place where you're not in the way, but some of the answers were put down your accelerator and try and beat it, you know, things like that, or stop and obscure the road. I think people do tend to panic though when there's a siren coming. They're like, oh, I've got to get out of the way, I've got to stop, I've got to let them past. And I've seen, my husband was in an ambulance with my son once. He was fine. It was just he'd started choking in the night, and you could still hear that there was something on his chest. By the time I called the ambulance came, it was very quick. He was breathing properly, but you could the paramedic could hear that there was something on his chest, and he was really worried that he'd inhaled a toy, which I knew he hadn't because he didn't have any in the bed. But he insisted, and my husband was there. We can do the little fan now in the ambulance, and he said it was so scary because they were going past a place where there was two lanes, one in each direction, and in the middle of the road there was an island, and the cobalt turquoise I'm going to use for the background of the fan. And as the ambulance came along, it caught up with the car on the same side as it, and the car spotted the ambulance and stopped, and it stopped opposite the island, so there wasn't enough width for the ambulance to then get by it, so, which was just so silly. So the ambulance had to go on the wrong side of the road to get around the little island. So luckily the ambulance drivers have very good training in driving. But I think it isn't that people are stupid. I think it is that they panic and they think, oh, I've got to get out of the way, and they don't really logically think, I've got to stop, I've got to pull in and stop, a lot of people think, and they don't actually think about where they're putting in and whether it's safe. But my boys have observed this behaviour, so hopefully they'll be okay. But it's always hard to tell how you are going to react in a specific situation if you go into a panic. Hopefully you won't go into a panic, but you just, as I say, you just don't know. Now we've got the little markings on the fan. I'm thinking if we do those in a pink, it will just help to tie it all together. I'm going to use this pretty one. This is the middle purple pink. And I'm just going to block it in really. How long is this taking us? It's quite a long time, but I think this is one of the more complex girls, but I'm not sure. Now there's quite a lot of accessories on this page as well. Like behind this girl there's a parasol, but she's not actually holding it, and there's lots of flowers and different things. I'm not going to do those to start with. I think I will just do the little figures, and then I will probably maybe in the last video or the last couple of videos do the accessories, because actually on the next page, this page we've got 4 figures, we've got 3 figures on the next page, but then we've actually got a lucky cat and a gift and a teapot and all sorts of bits and pieces, so we may have to do a couple of videos with those. But for now I'm done with this little girl, so we're going to leave that for today. This is going to be a long running series. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be probably at least 9 videos, so come back tomorrow please for the next installment. But for now, thank you so much. I hope you have a really super day and happy colouring.